I don't know if you know this, but 2 days ago, this administration is talking about sending another $6 billion over to Ukraine.
Yeah, they want to do it before the end of the year.
I mean, that's insane. Why? I mean, it's a what, $6 billion? Just go put it out in the parking lot out here and light a fire on it.
I mean, that really does indicate that it is about about corruption, about money laundering more than anything else.
So I use that example, Phil, because there's a tension in Washington D.C. and that tension is Trump is and I like the fact that he chose Susie Wiles as his chief, and she's going to be she's a great trusted advisor of him. He totally trusts her. She's a great person. So the people that will swarm around Washington, D.C. at this moment in time are going to be people from Washington, D.C. I mean, I don't live in Washington, D.C., so I'm not driving up there and hanging out at the meetings, and going, okay, it's people from, that swamp.
Yeah. They were 250,000 to 20,000. Kamala Harris votes in Washington, D.C., 250,000 for her, 20,000 for Trump.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I think it was 93% or 95%.
That just speaks to the fact that D.C. is entirely captured,
completely.
I mean,
by
there's
one
so
party,
many,
but it's the Great Society programs. I mean, going back to when the Democrats changed, it wasn't the Kennedys it was the Johnson Great Society programs, right, pushing us probably more towards this socialist stagnant model.
Yeah.
And as you know, back in the 80s, they already started talking about this controlled demolition of America,
right?
Economically,
right.
Basically, it's like we're going to be a stagnant socialist,
and that's
country.
all real. Those aren't conspiracy theories. Those are things that are real. So, I think what we've learned and what I've seen, certainly in the world of the social media and these great minds that we have out there, and you guys are included in that, because I find like this level of brilliance in these people that have really, there's a lot of podcasters and I love them all, but there are some, because of their ability to communicate, study, research, be prepared and do all the things that you need to do to be really successful. And we have a bunch of them. Those are the type of people. And there's other business leaders. I mean, I don't know them. I've never met them. I've seen them, and I've responded to them on X at times. This Bill Ackman as an example, right? Cardone is another guy. I mean, Elon's another one of these types of people that have risen up. Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean, another guy that has risen up. There's other leaders in our midst, right? And what I want people to do, and this gets to the heart of your question, Tim, about me, what I want to see is more leaders that are not from the political establishment. And if there's some great former military leaders, great. If there's business leaders, which I know there are, that are running great organizations, and they know, they're Trump-like in their abilities, maybe not in their mindset and sort of how he operates, but there are great leaders, and that's what I want to see come into the government, and I would love to see, and I know, like places like the Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Commerce, those are going to be huge picks for Trump, and they should come from a place of leadership as well as intellect in those sort of worlds, right? Commerce and Treasury. Same with all these other really, the critical departments. Some of the departments need to be completely eliminated. But that's what I want to see. And I think that I know that Trump has these relationships. Now it's a matter of somebody saying, I'm going to put my life aside, because this is what you have to do. Okay? And this is a tough thing, because people go, I don't know. I got two examples of two very, very successful people who both of them wanted two really prominent jobs, in the previous administration. And when it came down to the nut cutting time, they backed away because their egos got in the way of the mission.
But I think for most people, it's sacrificing for something beyond them, and it's difficult for most people.
Bobby Kennedy, he if there is an example of a modern day founding father putting country before self, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That man he could have stayed in there and said, "Screw it, I'm going to fight." I mean, I watched him very closely as he was, coming in and doing the things, and I'm studying them, and I was always a big fan of a big, the whole Kennedy experience, right? I mean, got different issues, but when I saw him coming in, I'm like thinking, okay, this is an interesting dynamic. And he's going after a big issue, which is a huge issue for all Americans. And then all of a sudden, because he sat there and he stood there in a couple of stages and said, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. And then he realized, I think it's like whatever, like the old light switch comes on, and he realized that this party that he used to be part of, that he had to jump away from and go independent, he realized these people are evil. I mean, this is evil.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about spiritual warfare. But this is not the old Democrat Party. This is evil. And he finally, whatever that moment was, he said, I can't allow this country to go, this way. Because personally, I don't think if Bobby Kennedy came over to the Trump camp because the independent numbers that I've seen are pretty high for Trump. He got a lot of independents. And I kind of, maybe that's the Kennedy effect. There'll be an analysis of that, I'm sure, for a long time. But he is an example. Whatever people want to think about Bobby Kennedy, whatever his background is, he rose to the occasion like our founders rose to the occasion, and he put country before self, because he'd have been destroyed like everybody else had the results been different.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War Podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.